Join me as we talk all things true crime.
Made contact and shattered.
The missing 4-year-old. The parents have called in about that the mother has went through a wall, came home, now they can't find her.
Chad, where are Lori's kids? They've been missing for 4 months. You have nothing to say?
4 were stabbed multiple times and were likely asleep during the attack. Some had defensive wounds.
Most of them had just like one that was the lethal stab wound.
Oh, what a tangled web we weave. Once I told a lie, and I told my family, I had to keep lying.
McSherman is a demon.
We haven't cleared anybody.
Hey everybody, it's good to see everybody in chat. Hi Adrian, Zoe, Diva Girl, Shay. It's good to see you guys. House Huddle. Ernie's here. Freezing in Miami, 73 degrees. Oh, stop. Rub it in, why don't you? Jen's here. Ruth Ann. Hey everyone. So apparently this week, Nancy Grace sat down with Sherilyn Cadle. You guys remember, and you guys know of Sherilyn Cadle. She wrote that book, Letters to Christopher. Let me just share like a little, let's Google that. Letters from Christopher, that's what it was. I have the book. It was always interesting seeing his, I'm just pulling it up so you guys can see which book I'm referring to. It was always interesting to see his letters that he wrote her. What I never found interesting was that it's like his third confession and it's different than his first two. So whenever anyone quotes anything from Letters from Christopher, I take it with a grain of salt because he told opposite things than he told before his arrest in prison time, and then opposite things that he told during the prison confession after he'd been sentenced, obviously. This is literally this book, the letters that he wrote to Sherilyn Cadle is his third confession. The things that came out in that book, like I said, were totally different than what he went by before the arrest. Hey, Alex Erickson, good to see you. I'm going to be modding from my other YouTube channel in chat. So if you see that Dollhouse Diaries, that's my other channel. So subscribe to that. But also I'll be sharing some links to my friends' channels too that I want you guys to check out. And hey, Holly, it's good to see you. But anyways, so she's just been a whole character, Sherilyn Cadle, as far as reporting stuff from Chris and on this case in general. Hold on, let me just share my screen because this episode apparently is like 50 minutes and we got to get into it. I'm just going to give a live reaction, but I did want to kind of give my opinion on Sherilyn Cadle and her work like before I even watch this. I have not watched this yet. So it's going to be a real reaction. And if she says, you know, fake news and stuff that's just not true, I'm going to call it out. I hope there's not people who will be sensitive to that because I know Nancy Grace has like a cult following, but I would do it no matter who is reporting on this case and this subject. It doesn't matter if it's Vinnie Politan or whoever. If they state something that just isn't true, like I'm going to have to call that out. And then I'll try my best to back it up as well. It's just there's a lot of misinformation in this case. And as the years go by, it becomes more and more important to kind of make sure that we keep the record straight and keep the story straight. Because in my opinion, I don't think that we've gotten the full story in this case. And I don't think that justice was fully served in that sense either. So unfortunately, that's just my take on it. So it's going to be interesting. Oh, there's a new documentary out. I don't know if I have that channel or that app. I'll have to look it up. Tons of misinformation on Nancy Grace. Yep. I've not seen this yet by Nancy Grace. I used to be a fan of her cases, but once I started diving into the cases and studied more case law, I no longer can support her reporting style. And as you know, and as Criminality knows, I saw her in chat. It's good to see you guys. Her reporting on Scott Peterson, some people love her for it. Some people hate her for it. But over the years, even if she brings that case up again here and there, sometimes she's like misreporting on the facts. Or she'll turn a blind eye to facts in Scott Peterson's case and not come out with like other things that came out through the trial and after the trial. So that's just my opinion. So I have a feeling this is going to be interesting. Nancy wouldn't know the facts of a case if someone wrote them down for her and gave her cue cards. And what's also interesting about this segment is not only do we have already a lot of opinions of shaky ground with Nancy Grace, but Sherilyn Cadle, back to her. Let's keep the record straight from those who have followed this case from the time it happened in 2018 to up until now. Don't follow these AI run channels. Don't Google this case, or look up this case on ChatGPT. I can tell you right now, I've seen so much false information just from ChatGPT on this case. I'm just like, where is all this coming from? And other channels I've seen that are AI run on this case, I'm like, what the heck? No, that's not true, So it's going to be interesting. But Sherilyn Cadle, she wrote the book. Chris did have contact with her. Like I said, there was interesting aspects and there was little things that some people think, like, I think that was a lie, or I think he was truthful there. You'll never know because he just lies about everything and to everyone. But basically the majority of what he ever told Sherilyn Cadle, I just don't believe really. What was interesting about Sherilyn Cadle and what I will find interesting, I think, in this discussion is like she always kind of believed that NK had more to do with the crime. And so much so that when she was writing the first book, she was in contact with the Watts family via texts and stuff, phone calls and all that. Some of those texts have been made public and, I have seen them. I have them on a phone. She was telling them that she thought that there was more with NK to all this and that she was going to help the Watts family uncover that, and that she was going to give the Watts family proceeds of the book. Again, this can all be backed up. So it is what it is. I'm just telling you guys my backstory of what I know about this author. And obviously that never happened. So, and then actually, I think it's on the 7-year anniversary live stream that we did where Alex Erickson was on there as well with me. I think Jen Liu from the Ward Case Studies joined us. But there is this Facebook page that came out when this case first happened in 2018. And it was reporting stuff as everyone was kind of getting it publicly. So it was interesting to go back through that Facebook page. And one of the posts was Sherilyn Cadle promising to give revenue from her first book with Chris to some charity that dealt with like DV, domestic violence. So there's been some promises made by her. And then to top it all off, her first book, the one that I showed you guys, The Letters from Christopher, is no longer for sale because she plagiarized some of it. Like it has his letters like described in there and like her opinion of like this case. And he claims that NK and her friends were into dark things. We all kind of know that. Like what is interesting about Sherilyn Cadle is she's another person that has come out saying similar things to what Chris has said to them in prison over the years. So example, Sherilyn Cadle thinks and said that Chris had hinted towards the mistress NK having more to do with things. David Carter has come out, who was that inmate who also had letters from Chris. He also said that Chris told him that NK had more to do with things. Dylan Tallman, the other inmate who he got close with and wrote the biblical verses book recently, like he's come out and said that Chris has alluded to NK. So the only thing I can say is that Sherilyn actually is useful in the sense that like she kind of goes along with the same pattern of people who have spoken to Chris and got close to Chris, who came out saying, I think even that Anna woman came out to people saying that like after talking to Chris and stuff, that she thinks that like NK like knew more at the very least or something more. But so let's get into see how much this is accurate versus what the heck.
Breaking news tonight. We go behind bars and freakily into
And I had to speed her up. Just 1.25.
To the mind of murder dad Chris Watts, including why he justifies murdering his wife and 2 little girls, actually blaming his pregnant wife Shanann for not being more like his latest mistress. Really?
And this was something that came out earlier this year. You guys remember that? Where like another source or somebody that he converses through with letters says that he blames Shanann now, even though in the beginning he was telling his mother, like in the jail phone calls, like, you know, she was a good woman, don't talk to her like that. It's like so much flip-flopping from him.
It's her fault she's dead? Then how do you rope Bella and Celeste into that? Long story short, tonight, behind bars and into the mind of Chris Watts, a place I thought I would never go. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us.
I'm concerned about a friend of mine. I dropped her off at her house at 2 in the morning last night because we were out of town together and we were on the way back to the airport. And she's pregnant, and I haven't been able to get a hold of her this morning.
Did you tell your mother-in-law that she went to a friend's today? Yeah. What friend?
That's all I know.
Who was she supposed to go to?
I wear my sunglasses at night and indoors. Okay. Did you see him going back and forth and back and forth? I'm just a trial lawyer, but I know that that's off, and with good reason. Take a listen to this.
My daddy is a hero. He helps me grow up strong. He helped me not go to. He reads me books. He ties my shoes. If you're a hero, blue and blue, my daddy is love you.
Shanann Ruchek never expected to fall in love with a man who sent her a random friend request, but 2 years later, she married Chris Watts. Just after their first anniversary, the couple welcomes baby Bella, and she becomes a big sister to Celeste at 2 years old. Despite financial struggles, the family is incredibly happy to learn they are expecting a little boy and break the news to Shanann's parents on a summer vacation.
Baby Nico was never born, unless you count coffin birth after Shanann Watts was.
Why would she even say that? Oh, see, that's just typical Nancy Grace, though. And then her supporters are like, well, you know, you either love her or you hate her. Like, I love her. I mean, she didn't have to say that about Nico was never born, unless you count coffin birth. Like, really? Yeah, it's just over the top. And just like kind of like distasteful, especially that specific subject, personally. That's just my opinion. Others might not feel the same. And I'm not somebody who's like, I'm offended. But yeah, I do agree. It's a little tacky. Come on. Like, we're talking about. It's just kind of a sensitive subject in the whole case and very gruesome subject. And it's just kind of like, oh, why'd she have to make light of it in a way? Or like, make it seem like a pun. Yep, exactly. And you know, I've seen so many people in chat saying like, I used to like her, but then over the years, it's as we become socially aware of how mainstream media kind of like doesn't get things correct. These people like Nancy Grace, in my opinion, just become more and more like, ick, cringe.
Murdered and placed in a shallow grave her body expelled baby boy Nico. This raised the first red flag of alarm.
Calling because I'm concerned about a friend of mine. I dropped her off at her house at 2 in the morning last night because we were out of town together and we were on the way back from the airport. And
Right.
And she's pregnant.
That's a good point. So Nancy said that the announcement of the pregnancy was made during their visit to North Carolina. It's like, no. And in fact, that's an important detail to get accurate because she made that post that she was pregnant, obviously public on her Facebook. And if you start diving into this case, you know that the mistress NK was looking at Shanann's Facebook. So let's keep the facts straight. She aired to everybody publicly that she was pregnant in May. I believe early May was the Facebook post, but it was filmed like near the end of April. And NK looked at her Facebook page after that post was made. So when NK says, the mistress NK says that she didn't know that Shanann was pregnant, we know that that's just a lie because you were looking at her Facebook and she posted that over the summer, before the summer, numerous times, baby onesies, etc. So she knew. So we need the facts straight already. We're on shaky ground.
And I haven't been able to get a hold of her this morning. And I've gone to her house and her car's there and stuff like that. But she won't answer the door. She won't answer phone calls. She won't answer text messages. And I'm just really, really concerned. And she had a doctor's appointment this morning and she didn't go to it. And I don't know what to do. I called him and talked to him and he said that she went on a play date with her other two daughters. But like if she went on a play date, they're both in car seats. Why would she not take her car?
Shanann's friend rightfully disturbed. That's called routine evidence, not stereotypical or normal evidence of a routine. Why would Shanann take her children on play dates with their car seats still in the back of her car? Shanann would never have done that. What more do we know? Listen.
Pregnant Shanann Watts sets off again for a work trip with close friend Nicole Atkinson. Shanann confided her marriage has been strained, but she's hopeful to reconcile when she returns. The pair's flight is delayed, and Atkinson drops Shanann off at home just before 2 a.m. Monday. Shanann has a 9 a.m. doctor's appointment, but the expectant mom misses it. Watts says Shanann told him she was taking the girls to a play date when he left for work at 5:15, but he has no idea where Shanann or their children are.
Well, what about that missed doctor's appointment? Shanann pregnant with baby Nico at the time. So rightfully, and SOP, standard operating procedure, they speak to Chris Watts, the husband.
Any friends she would be hanging out with? I guess her parents are out of state.
Across country, North Carolina.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's not happening. She can play her. All the girls' blankies are gone. Their blankies they sleep with, they don't leave anywhere with them.
Okay.
This is also something that I do want to kind of like highlight. He always said the blankies are gone. Those blankies were never officially accounted for. A lot of people were like, oh, he dumped them in the dumpster on the way home when he stopped. We just don't honestly know what happened to them. But one of the things that he did say is that the blankets and I think toys and clothing would be found under the sheet at Servy, where the crime scene was, that fitted sheet. And that never was found there either. And then, yes, he then says maybe they blew away in the wind. So there was actually two things that he stated about their personal items that the kids brought with them that morning. The stuffies and stuff, like he claimed that they'd be found out there under the fitted sheet. And then when pressed again about items that they left with, he said that they might have blown away. Yes, some barking toy that I think Cece brought.
Nothing else appears to be missing, though. Just stuff you'd take for a quick trip. She tell you anything about leaving, moving out?
Not moving out. The last time I talked to her was this morning. She said she's going to take the kids to a friend's house, and she asked where she was going to be. And then I've texted her today and never heard anything. But the car's here. Car's here. Unless somebody can pick her up. But the people that I know, nobody's heard from him, nobody's seen him.
Am I just projecting, or can you tell he's lying right there?
to determine that was a lie.
You know, I picked up a lot. If we could put that on mute and see the video again, you see Chris Watts leading the police along. They're trying to find his wife, his pregnant wife, Shanann. Check out the closet. That I noticed immediately. Everything is in perfect order. She wanted to give him the perfect home. She had designed it. She had painted it. Look how organized. She even has her husband's clothes color coordinated. See the sports shirts on the end. Then you've got dark. Then you've got blue. Then you've got plaid, orange, white. It goes on all the way around.
And we also have to remember that Chris was also extremely organized this way as well. So yes, Shanann was, but Chris was sort of a neat freak too. So just to kind of give a little, outline of like Chris and like certain manual things about his personality or his mannerisms, like the rocking, like he kind of does that a lot. Like even when he was like happy, like opening up like the tickets for Metallica and stuff, like I'm just saying things that I've noticed. Not saying that he wasn't lying when he was like self-soothing rocking, because we know he lies. But this whole like organization thing, I think it's also noteworthy that like he was also very particular about things a certain way.
She had in her mind the perfect home, the perfect marriage, the perfect family. Where does he fit in? Another thing that jumped out at me as he's walking through the home, he points out the baby's blankets are missing. He knows exactly where those blankets are. They were with the children, Bella and Celeste, when he murdered them. And he has a straight face. This guy can lie like a rug. So when we are judging someone's demeanor, you can really be fooled. This is Chris Watts, aka Killer Dad. But you've got to see this, the inevitable, begging for their return.
Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. Like if somebody has her, just please bring her back. I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here. Please bring her back.
To determine that was a lie.
The unknown perpetrator to bring her back, that the house is not complete. That was your doing, Watts. Your doing in such a horrific manner. Even the neighbor noticed his behavior was very odd, uncharacteristically odd. Watch.
You just want to go talk to him? I'm going to get his info real quick. No.
Back and forth, and if you look, he never goes for stuff in and out of the garage.
Right.
And it doesn't look like he came from right here. It looks like he came from down the street. To be completely honest with you, my wife and I were kind of wondering when she was on vacation if something happened, because I've heard them full out screaming at each other at the top of their lungs, and he gets crazy.
Okay. That's pretty.
And remember that whole, I've heard them screaming at each other. That was a statement that Nate later ended up retracting. We've actually talked about that recently. How we all think that it was kind of weird. And then people gave their theories. Like, I think he just wanted to like emphasize like how he was feeling, or that Chris was lying or being suspicious to the cop. And then other people have theorized that he didn't hear Shanann and Chris, that who he actually had heard was NK, the mistress, and Chris. So there's interesting theories about why exactly he made that statement about hearing them arguing and then later retracted it. Yeah, screaming at each other. I'll rewind it real quick, but he says, my wife and I were kind of wondering or something about like both of them hearing them screaming at each other. So hold on.
I'm guessing that's why she went and visited people, because she wanted. And when she was on vacation or something.
So he's claiming he had heard this. This is also important for people to theorize. Hello, everybody, Mama Bear and everyone else who've joined. It is important to kind of keep in mind, Nate is claiming that he thinks that he thought that was why she left to North Carolina, because things were tense between them. So when you're theorizing about why Nate retracted that statement, just keep that in mind, because some people will be like, well, why would NK be at the house? I think she'd been over there when Shanann was in that one trip she did. I think it was March or April for her Thrive company, and it was without Chris. I don't know. I just have a feeling that she'd been there, but I don't know.
Them full out screaming at each other at the top of their lungs, and he gets crazy.
Does he? And that's pretty recently.
I'm guessing that's why she went and visited people, is because she wanted to get away from the situation.
I love the neighbor. I want him to be my neighbor. So from his door cam.
And I guess apparently Nancy Grace doesn't know that statement was retracted. And a source to kind of back up that they claim that statement was retracted is that comment was made at least once in the prisoner interview. They're talking about something with Chris, and somebody brought that up. I think Agent Tammy brought up, like, didn't the neighbor say that he heard them arguing? And then Baumhover like butted in, and he was like, no, that he actually came out and ended up like retracting that. So that was like where we kind of found out that, like, wait, okay, so Nate retracted that? Interesting. Okay. At least that's what they told Chris. Or, why would Baumhover like butt in and give us that tidbit? It's all very weird, but apparently Nancy Grace doesn't know that.
He could see what was happening at Shanann's home. She shared with Watts. And he could see Watts loading things in and out of the car. He could see Shanann's car.
Maybe, Holly.
Now, he referred to her going out of town. She had gone out of town prior to her murder. She was with her family in North Carolina with the two little girls. She did not leave the two little girls with Daddy, took them with her. The neighbor noticing uncharacteristically odd behavior on the part of Chris Watts. But then there's more.
We waited the time we were told that Mom called again. He said he was still on it and to wait another 45 minutes. So he's just been giving us false times and everything. I mean, we know he's been lying because his story's not adding up.
Right.
So everybody different stories. Because we have one story. She's with a friend right now. And then there's another story. She's on a play date with the kids with another friend. And then she left in the middle of the night. So he told us 3 different stories.
Yes. And I think that's very, like, this kid was only 16 years old, Nick. And he realized that they had gotten 3 different stories from Chris. Because remember, which I think this was really noteworthy, and a lot of people don't ever talk about it. He did say that she went on a play date. He did say that she went to a friend's house. And we found out through the body cam that he also said, Nicole Atkinson said, no, you told, who was the girl? Was it Christina or the other girlfriend? Cassie. I think it was Cassie. You told Cassie that she left in the middle of the night. And Chris awkwardly like laughs. I put this clip specifically in my second documentary on this case, which is the one that I made a few months ago. Because he like awkwardly laughs and he's like, no, she didn't leave in the middle of the night. When hindsight, she did.
Now, that's the son of Shanann's best friend, Nicole Atkinson, speaking. Now, I've always believed and observed that if your story gets embellished, like you add facts to it, that's totally understandable. Maybe you were not asked the right questions. Maybe you remembered something in addition, like, hey, now I remember X. But when your story changes, that is a problem. All right. You're hearing Nicole Atkinson's son describe how Chris Watts' story was changing. That's a big red flag. And then, of course, it culminates here.
We have been able to recover a body that we're quite certain is Shanann Watts' body. We have strong reason to believe that we know where the bodies of the children are and recover.
So this presser was on Wednesday. They go missing on Monday, okay? So everything allegedly happened Monday. And by Wednesday, Nicole Kessinger, the mistress, comes forward and talks to FBI the same day that Chris has his polygraph interview. So on day 3 of the investigation, something that kind of like brought a question to my mind is, if they had his information of like where he was that day, like because already by day 3 they knew like his job sites that he had gone to, etc. Why did it take till Wednesday night for them to find Shanann in the shallow grave? Like, why did it take till Wednesday? Because we've seen the drone footage and it's not like nighttime, so I guess during the day is when they found Shanann. But why, if you guys knew where Chris was for work, and they always said, and we saw in the discovery files that the Anadarko was like cooperative from day 1. I don't know. I just feel like it's odd that it took till Wednesday to find her and to recover her. In fact, they didn't even take her out of the ground until Thursday. It's confusing to me. And hello, Melanie and Dustin, everyone else who's here. Oh, okay. Have a great week.
Efforts are in process on that.
That's from our friends at ABC 11. Her body recovered and recovered in a horrible way. Pregnant Shanann was found buried in a shallow grave. I told you earlier that she then, baby Nico was born by coffin birth. Her body expelled her only son. She had Bella and Celeste, her 2 little girls. Not far from that shallow grave, Bella and Celeste, these 2 babies were.
And what's also interesting too about my question of like, why did it take till Wednesday for them to find her shallow grave after knowing where he had been previously? And remember, his truck, Anadarko was like, sure, his company truck was like, do what you got to do. You know, they let the cadaver dog sniff around the truck. The cadaver dog didn't alert to any death in the truck or at the truck. A lot of people say, well, the dog didn't enter his work truck. It doesn't need to. Like, you can look up how well dogs' noses are. Like, you don't need to have them enter the vehicle for them to be able to smell the cadaver decomp. But regardless, my point is there was a coworker who had been to the crime scene and found to be at the crime scene before her body was found and like parked right next to the shallow grave. So when you're thinking about why it took till day 3 for them to find her at the shallow grave and knowing that Troy had been there on Tuesday, like it's all just kind of weird and really like questionable. And when we think about how this investigation and case and the plea deal took place within like 3 months, it just raises a lot of questions.
Found, their bodies forced into oil drums, long cylindrical drums, and their bodies decomposed in that liquid, not far from where mommy was buried. Now, of course, Watts was then questioned. Listen to what he had to say and watch his demeanor.
You have to trust me that when I tell you that these 2 beautiful girls right here, I did nothing to them, and to my beautiful wife, I did nothing to her.
To determine that was a lie.
But you have to realize that these 2 beautiful girls right here and my wife, I had nothing to do with the disappearance. Like, they vanished, they were taken, someone has taken them, they're safe somewhere, we don't know. I had nothing to do with this act of like evil cruelty, whatever's happened here. Because my love for these 2 girls and my wife, like, I don't want anything to happen to them. I've never wanted anything to happen to them. Like, I need them, I want them just to run through that front door and just grab me, or just barrel, just tackle me, knock me to the floor, bust my head, I don't care. The amount of love I have for my family is exponential, and it's never gonna die. And I want them back. I have to have them back.
Listen.
For those who are following the Anna Kepner case, the 18-year-old who died on that cruise ship and they're suspecting the stepbrother, they described how her suffocation took place. And it was a term, I can't remember it. Do you guys remember what it was? But basically it's where you are behind your victim and you put them in like a headlock. Like some people can make somebody pass out that way. I can't remember the name of it, but they described bruising on the side arm bar. Thank you, Diva Girl. You're awesome. Sometimes the words just like, I know what they are, but they're like on the tip of my tongue. You guys know. But anyway, so they determined that that was how Anna Kepner was asphyxiated. And then in Shanann's autopsy, they talk about bruising on the side of her neck as well. And a lot of people have said, I bet you he put her in a chokehold or like arm bar, like we just described. And to me, I think that that could be extremely likely because of just knowing what the medical examiner came out to say in Anna Kepner's case and what she witnessed on during that autopsy. Of course, we will never know completely, but Chris has described it differently. He claims he straddled her and got on top of her while she was laying on her back. So again, it kind of goes back to statements that he's made and confessions that he's made that don't actually match like the evidence 100%. Like a lot of people just wonder. A lot of people just wonder. But no, I personally don't think that he straddled her and like did it in the bed because like I said, there was no alert from any of the cadaver dogs to death in the house and nothing was on the sheet that she was found at. And so she wasn't found wrapped in the sheet. A lot of people misreport that as well in this case. But the fitted sheet that was found out at the oil site that she was found in, like in the middle, like I don't know how many feet away from her shallow grave was, but it was a while. Like it was far enough where he would have had to run like out there, leave it. Like no way the wind blew it out there. Anywho, the CBI report from the agent who was at the scene and who grabbed that fitted sheet and is pictured with that fitted sheet describes that fitted sheet as having only marks from dirt, and it's described as drag marks. So there's no bodily fluids that were ever described on that. There's no blood that was found on that sheet. Like the only thing that was noteworthy was that the drag marks from the soil out there. So try and fit all that into like when you're thinking about like piecing all this together. I personally think that she died at Servy. I think Shanann was put in that chokehold at Servy. Like I don't think anyone died at the house at all.
I don't think anything like that could happen. Last thing I would ever do it, but I did. I know. Keep going. She accused me of it. I denied it. I cheated on her, and I felt horrible for it. Like she was pregnant, and it was. I don't want her.
Yes, that was something that Chris came out stating. Can't remember which confession. Might have been the second one because he said Bella said, "Daddy, something smells," and he said maybe she had. He said it smelled like skunk. Which, what do you guys think smells like? This is something we always talk about too here. Something that smells like skunk to you guys. Leave it in chat or comment down below. You guys know what I'm thinking already, but it's not a dead body. But yeah, he did say like maybe that was like when she let her bowels out or something like that. I think Tammy might have handed to him that answer and he said maybe. We've gone through the prison interview, like broke that down. It's on my playlist for this case, so I'm sure we touched on it in there, but yeah, exactly, Melanie. Yep, Neat Noodle, Diva Girl, Jessica, yeah, Alec, everyone's got it. So why, and then that's because he said that it, Bella said that it smelled and that he said had like a skunk smell. Then Tammy fed him. Was that when she let go of, her bowels or something like that? Of course, she's feeding him the answers like we see in all her interviews with Chris. And because she doesn't want to talk about how skunk smelled like Chris didn't smoke. And there was a lighter found in his work truck on the passenger side in the door panel. So I believe somebody was smoking pot in that truck, I don't know when, but I wouldn't be surprised. But interesting that he said that, and that was also something that doesn't match the evidence. So if he says she emptied her bowels, then why didn't that fitted sheet have that on it? It only had dirt on it from Cervi, the oil site, and from drag marks, specific drag marks.
I didn't hurt her. I cheated on her. I hurt her emotionally. I cheated on her.
To determine that was a lie.
She hurt him. Yeah.
He says to his dad, she hurt him. She hurt them. And he repeats back, she hurt them. And he said, and then I freaked out on her and hurt her. Who's her? When we're talking about a wife involved and we're talking about a mistress involved in all this, who specifically hurt them? And then, of course, it'll be turned into, oh, he was talking about Shanann. What a POS. He does end up blaming Shanann in this confession. This is the first confession. I call it the false confession because he was fed the narrative through the Reed technique, which is highly problematic. Look it up. I'm not going to get into it a million times, but that Shanann had killed the girls, and Agent Tammy fed him that narrative. So here, when he's talking to his father and he's keeping it vague, like she hurt them, we need to know, like, who is he really talking about? Because then it gets spun into it was Shanann. Like, they come in right after this little interaction, and then, they start interrogating Chris more and more. And she's like, what did Shanann do? What did she do to them, Chris? Chicks are crazy. And then after saying, no, we would never hurt them, it comes out that he gives in and he says, yeah, Shanann killed them. And then in the prison interview, Tammy's like, what do you think we could have done differently, Chris? Like, what do you think we could have done differently in this investigation? And he said, maybe if you had blamed the other. Like, he won't even come out and say, like, Nicole Kessinger. He just says, maybe if you had blamed the other instead of Shanann.
Your girl. Did they leave after that for a long time? So she started her beginnings.
Oh, my stars. Not only does he murder her, he then blames her that she is the bad person. There's a tiny bit more. Listen.
And then what happened? I looked at her and I got on top of her, and she went on top of Shanann, did the same thing. Okay. Did you have to knock her down? No. She was already on the ground. I just pulled her off on the bed. And, kind of one move. Yeah. Okay. So it's not as though you I didn't pull her off. No. Like, I went up, pulled her down. I said that I didn't know. I lost it. Sure. Okay.
So Shanann was laying on the ground?
On the bed.
On the bed?
Yeah, like when she was on top of, I saw what was happening. I pulled her, went down. I was on the bed.
What kind of size is it? Full, clean? No?
I think it's probably a queen.
And the other thing that is so shady about all this, not only does Nancy not mention that, like, yes, Chris is a piece of shit for blaming Shanann, but she fails to mention that the Reed technique was used where Tammy blamed Shanann. And of course, we'll get the comments, that's the technique, that's what they do. Look up how they're not really teaching it to federal agents anymore because it can cause so many problems and false confessions, etc. We didn't get close to the truth by blaming Shanann. So, and I think we could have gotten Chris in prison without doing that technique. But also, why do they have this? When have you seen an interrogation video besides the Watts case where the suspect has his back to the camera?
Some sort of picture of those somewhere.
And then finally.
And the babies are gone. And I put my hands around my wife's neck and did that same thing.
Did Shanann fight back at all when you did that?
issues that I had after seeing that. Like, not much.
How do you know she understood?
Joining me
It's
right
so
now
sketchy.
is a very special.
It's always been so sketchy, Sherlock. So that was his second interview. He did have a FBI interview with just Agent Coder, the guy in this who's in the right corner of the table, the day prior, and they showed Chris his face. They showed his body language and all that. But then as soon as CBI took hold of like the main part of this investigation and kind of took the reins, Tammy, they put him with the back to the camera. It's so weird. It's so wrong too. Like this case, there's like so much stuff that they just haven't shared. They wanted him to feel safe. I feel like Chris is such an easy like person to kind of figure out like for law enforcement that he would have felt safe. He felt totally comfortable the day prior with FBI. I don't know. It's just all so strange to me.
Guest that I've wanted to speak to again for a very long time, Cheryl Ann Cadle, the author of The Murders of Christopher Watts and The Many Faces of Christopher Watts, a 5-year update. Cheryl Ann, thank you for being with us.
I mean, and how many books is this lady going to write? Her like letters that she had with Chris. I mean, how many books is she going to write? There's been numerous books over the years. It's like, oh my gosh. And what's crazy too is some of her books have the theories that the Facebook groups and the YouTubers have come out with like during our own sleuthing and investigation. Like the fact that not the fact, but the theory that they had met at a gym in 2017. Like she put that in like one of her books or something. It's her only ticket to fame. Who's that on the cover? I don't know because she kind of like puts different faces to the victims too. In some of her books, like the children and stuff, like she never puts like Shanann and the girls like real picture on them.
What led you to speak to Chris Watts?
Well, just as you saw him on the front porch that morning, it seemed more like he was trying to not laugh. And I told my husband, there's a lot here to uncover, and I'm going to write this man, and I want to write a book about him. I felt very led to do so. I just felt like it was.
Another thing I want to know, and if you guys have been following this case for a while, you know it too. Why does everybody who comes out talking about this case or who was involved in this case, like on documentaries and writers and all that, like why do they all say the same thing? Ready? When I saw the interview of him on the news on the porch, I knew that he was lying, that there was more to this story. It's just the same script. They all reference the same thing. It's like, so it didn't hook you at all that like it came out that he had some mistress who was working with him who lied and deleted stuff in the investigation, like quite literally impeded the investigation, and that was admitted by the district attorney. They all reference his demeanor and the porch interview that they saw of this. It's every single one of them say the same thing. Even Tammy in one of the documentaries, because she didn't interview him right away. Like he did that porch interview on the news before she had him in on Wednesday. And she says on one of the documentaries, she's like, I just knew something was wrong. Like, we got to get this guy in. It's like, what the heck? There's way more other things about this case that was kind of like, wow. Like, not like, of course he was lying there. We all know that. But I don't know. Other things like the mistress deleting stuff, that to me seems like you would hear more about that from people. on mainstream media? Because we all talk about it.
To be. And so I did write him, and he responded and accepted my proposal to write a book.
Wow. I've never been interested in hearing what he had to say, but I'm curious. The way I would be curious, like looking at a spider under a glass case, I'm curious in that way, like when you go to the snake house at the zoo. So I'm very curious what Chris Watts had to say. Tell me everything. Start at the beginning.
Well, the very beginning was he wanted to clear his wife's name. So he was willing to speak with me. He invited me to come to the prison. Actually, his mother was very much pushing for it. And I think it's because they thought they could control the narrative of a grandmother that they thought was someone that they could control, that he could control. So I went to the prison and I sat with him the first day for 5 hours as he poured out everything that had happened, but telling me there were some things that he couldn't tell me face to face, but he would write them to me in a letter. He said that there were guards listening and that type of thing, and I don't know what he was trying to protect at that point. But anyway,
okay, now that's curious. He didn't want to talk because guards were listening. What would that have to do with him telling the truth, just because a guard was listening?
Right, exactly. But this is a man who wants people to think that he is the good boy next door. That's the way he came off to everyone. And he's a monster, absolutely a monster in sheep's clothing. When I went to the prison to meet with him, he just acted like the nicest guy and would hang his head, not looking straight in the eye. I could tell he was very ashamed. And at one point I said, "Christopher, look at me. Stop looking down. Look at me. When you talk to me, I want you to look at me." Well, he was lying so much, I realized later, because he was blaming what he did on other things. So we...
So far, she has said, I think she is being honest about their interaction, Cato, because at first he did want to clear Shanann's name and spoke, that in that manner to his mom in their jail phone calls and in the prison interview. Mind you, he didn't know that prison interview was going to be made public or even being recorded. And in that, he tried to talk kindly of Shanann and I wish, we would have worked on things. I wish I didn't do this and that. And please, Mom, don't talk to her about her that way. And then we see all the way through the years. Now this year, he's come out saying, blaming Shanann, but also saying things like the mistress and Kay will be judged by God someday. For what? Chris, what is God going to judge NK about?
From there, he started writing me letters, many letters, 12-page letters. And one of the things he was trying to hide is the morning that he killed Shanann, the girls were still alive. As he was rolling Shanann off of the bed and wrapping her in a sheet, Bella walked in the bedroom and said, "What's wrong with Mommy? What's happened?" And he told her that Mommy was sick and they were going to take her to the hospital. But
I do believe that this is true, that Bella walked in on whatever was happening that morning. And I think there was more people in the house with Chris. And I do think that Bella and Celeste woke up. So I think that part is true.
He was mortified that child woke up, as he put it. Not far behind her was Cece. Cece was stumbling. My opinion, she may have had a little bit of brain damage from where they...
When you have brain damage, how are you able to stumble and walk around? She's saying that she's said this theory over the years, so many times. She's wrote it in one of her books. Can't remember which one. I think it was the second one. It's been a theory that other creators have come out stating, but I personally I don't understand the whole theory that she was brain dead, but still able to walk around.
He had smothered them and thought that he had completed the job. It takes more than a couple of minutes to do that, and I think he stopped too soon.
Wow.
One of the most horrible things that can be imagined is he put those two baby girls in the back seat of his truck. Bella asking why they weren't in a car seat or a seat belt, and him telling them it was okay. It'd be okay this time. He laid Shanann across the bottom of the floorboard of that truck under the girls' feet. And the girls kept saying, something stinks, Daddy, something smells. What's wrong? What's wrong with Mommy? He took them to the oil field where he had them wait while he rolled Shanann out onto the ground.
Agreed, James.
He pulled her over away from the truck and he buried her where those baby girls could watch. If you can even imagine. As he rolled Shanann over, he noticed that Nico had been born. And he was like,
So again, this is stuff that he came out and told her that was different than what he'd stated. So he was questioned about her state in prison and if the baby had been born, if he'd seen anything like that. And he said no. And here's the thing, Sherilyn Cadle, a coffin birth, for those who've researched it, it is obviously a very morbid subject to look into. But if you study this case, you kind of have to, in a way. That happens from like gases from decomp. So it's a buildup of gas like in your body because that's what ends up happening. So that wouldn't have happened that morning, Sherilyn Cadle. So that, of course, if this is coming from Chris, that's obviously a blatant lie that he didn't see that coffin birth take place, because that would not have happened within. So she got home at 1:48. He's loading the truck at like 5:26 or something like that out of the driveway, like right around that time, 5:45 or something like that. 45-minute trip out to the oil site. Like that just would not have happened yet. So again, another lie from Chris, obviously.
To determine that was a lie.
Some people don't even think that Chris said that. I'm not sure if one of the letters back that up, but regardless, no matter where it's coming from, it's just not true. It's literally impossible to have happened yet.
amazed at what had just happened. He went back to the truck. He smothered Cece, he said first, and then he smothered Bella. Well, first, when he smothered Cece, he said he took her up to the oil battery and put her in, but he put her in an 8-inch hole. Now, if you think of ordering an individual pizza, it's about 8.
And I always get people who ask, what's your theory? What's your theory? Well, we've got a whole playlist for this case with my theories alongside our chats. And then I'll leave this comment on this screen because this pretty much sums it up.
8 inches around. And he put her in this 8-inch hole and he had to stomp her in. He couldn't just drop her in. He had to stomp her in. And he heard the splash as her.
So this is something that he told Sherilyn Cadle in his third confession, that he had to stomp them in and that he heard a splash. When he's questioned about it before the arrest, like so in that interview with Tammy and FBI agent Coder, he claims it wasn't hard to put them in. He didn't struggle at all. He held them by the wrists and dropped them in feet first, no problem. Didn't have to move them around at all to get them in. And when he was asked about the oil levels and hearing a splash, he said he didn't pay attention. So that's just another example of like how he claims that before his arrest in his interrogation. And then by the time he talks to somebody in prison, he says other things. And then by the time he talks to Sherilyn Cadle, he claims he had to stomp them in, etc. And he heard a splash. So when people reference things from her book or from the letters that Chris wrote to her, I just don't believe them, because statistically these confessions get less and less truthful as they change and become more elaborate. And plus there's nothing to indicate that happened to Cece. In fact, she had no wounds at all in comparison to Bella, who had defensive wounds from fighting. Specifically, the medical examiner said that she fought her attacker pretty much, and that she had signs and wounds to display that, whereas Cece had none of those. So there was allegedly a blonde hair that was found on the top of a hatch, but we don't know if it was the hatch that Cece was found in, and we actually don't even know whose blonde hair it was.
Her body hit the oil. Then he went back to the truck, and Cece said,
Okay, so that's the fitted sheet that was found at Survey that had the drag marks in it. See? So when Chris says later on that she released her bowels in that sheet, you know, take it from me in telling you what the discovery files say. You can look it up yourself, where it said it was just dirt and drag marks, but you can also look here and see for yourself. There's no urine, which happens when you're asphyxiated. You empty your bladder. Her bladder was empty, so at some point she did empty it, but it wasn't on this sheet.
Then he went back to the truck, and Cece said, Daddy, you're not going to do the same thing to me that you did to Bella, are you? But he took that child and he put a blanket over her head and he smothered her, and she fought him. She may have only been 4, but that child fought him with everything she had. And it has still made me wonder to this day if if Bella may have been alive when he dropped her in that oil battery, because she.
Unfortunately, this is something that I've kind of changed my theory on as well. Like, I was always like, no, they didn't find oil in their lungs, so they weren't alive in there. There was oil in her stomach, Bella's stomach, but not her lungs. But then over the years, I realized, like, you know what? These autopsy reports that they gave us in these public files are not complete. In fact, the full completion of everything related to the autopsy and the x-rays, etc., have been sealed, completely sealed from the public. So I'm not so certain that they were not put in there alive. And I have another reason why I think that too, but I'll discuss it at a future live stream. It's from somebody who is a local there who knew some of these first responders.
She had tearing in her mouth. She had bruises. It kept me awake at night.
Who
Nancy,
vomited
it
at
is
Survey?
the most horrible thing of thinking of what he could have possibly done to his own flesh and blood. And the reasons why he did it are even
Exactly,
more
Holly.
horrible.
I think so, Holly.
And he pulled away. Listening.
And remember, Holly, that is something that Chris has been adamant about. That's something that he has never wavered on. Did they go in alive? No. In fact, one time I believe he's asked it, he says, God, no. So he, I believe, was asked it twice before the arrest, and then in prison, he's asked it, I think, once or twice as well. Why are we keep asking Chris the same question? Why are we asking Chris over and over if the girls went in the tanks alive?
To a song by Metallica. And I just.
Okay, wait a minute. Cheryl and Cato, he pulled
Right. Plus, he
away.
lies. So when he keeps
drove
saying that
away
it didn't
in his
happen,
car listening
Yes.
to Metallica.
right? Exactly. When he keeps saying that it's something didn't happen, it's kind of, and we know his record with truth. Unfortunately, that was something that kind of stood out to me over the years. Like, I didn't catch it right away. It was after listening to these interviews over and over that I realized, like, wait, they literally have asked him this question so many times, and there's a reason why.
Yes.
What is
Yes.
his demeanor as he's telling you this, or was this in the letters?
Some was in the letters and some was in person. In person, he could not tell me that they woke back up. But he said in the letters that, he didn't know what else to do with their bodies at that point. He was afraid they were going to wake back up again. He thought, according to him, that it was a spiritual thing, that they woke back up and he had to kill them the second time. He did not look at it as he just fumbled the murder the first time. So he was afraid they would wake back
I
up.
don't understand that. How did he think them reviving was a, quote, spiritual thing? Demonic? I mean, what is he talking about?
Yeah, he thought it was demonic. He thought that there was some sort of a darkness over him that made him kill Shanann and the girls, something that he had been dealing with for a couple of weeks, when in fact, those couple of weeks were his planning stage. He would daydream about how he was going to kill them. He knew the night that he put those girls to bed, he says in a letter to me, I knew that was the last night I would be tucking my babies in.
That's also a lie, I think, that he told her because he gave them a bath. We found out that he packed their backpacks for school or for at least a day trip somewhere. We found that out. And when they got wet at the water party or the water balloon from the birthday party that they were at, he hung their shoes outside to dry. So then months and months later, he's in prison and he tells Sherilyn Cato that he knew that this was going to happen, like with the kids. Like, it's just, to me, it's like, why is he just lied to her on so many levels, in my opinion.
He knew they would never wake up again and carry on another day. And so he waited for Shanann to waylay her. He surprised her with the way that he treated her. He had sex with her before he murdered her.
And he had sex with her before he murdered her, that was also, I think, a lie he told in the prison interview. So that was something that came out in his second confession. So remember, there's multiple confessions. There's Shanann killed the kids. There's I killed them all. And then there's things that he told Sherilyn Cato too, which is all kind of different as well. But, we have no evidence to say, but of course they didn't run any DNA or anything like that in this case. But I really don't think that they had sex that morning. I also think that maybe he lied about that in the prison interview to kind of make it seem less likely that anyone was in the house with him. Because if they're having sex, like, and other people helped him in this and were in the house with him, that might seem like less likely. And that he did act alone because he's adamant that nobody else was with him.
He's talking to you and divulging these details. What is his demeanor?
He didn't want to look at me. He was acting, and I want to emphasize acting, that he was remorseful. Telling me about how he's having nightmares in prison, how Cece is visiting him in prison, and he thought that she knocked off some papers off of a table right next to him, and he jumped because he was afraid the table was gonna fall on top of her and hurt her. Really? So his demeanor was as a concerned dad, as I can't believe I did what I did. But it was so fake, just like the porch.
Hi guys, Nancy Grace here. Please join us on Crime Stories and stream it first on Fox 1. When breaking crime news develops, we investigate it and bring it to you. Bombshell updates, answers to unanswered questions from cases making the headlines. And I hope to see you there, and thank you, friend. I find all of this so hypocritical. I mean, he's got the children's pictures up on his wall in his jail cell. But he was of sane mind.
Definitely could be.
At the time he murdered them.
A lot of people don't know that there was vomit found at the oil site. And we never found out whose vomit it was. Who vomited?
In fact, isn't it true, Sherilyn Cato, that he murdered Shanann and Bella and Celeste and baby Nico because he wanted to be with another woman. And the entire time Shanann was visiting her family in North Carolina, he used that opportunity to hit on a coworker.
Exactly. And they had a 6-week affair up to the date that Shanann came home. And he didn't want to let go of her. He didn't want to go back to his real life and give up his girlfriend. But now.
Interesting how Cheryl and Cato just peddled the theory that they had this 6-week affair, which is what the district attorney, Chris, and NK are all claiming, and law enforcement at that. But in one of her books, she theorized that Chris had met NK at the gym. So obviously, like, why is she going with the 6-week affair while she's on mainstream media?
Now, after murdering his family and being found guilty of everything, or he admitted to it, he then turned to blame his girlfriend that she was dark and somehow she transferred this evil, dark spirit onto him, which made him kill his family. Just another way of blaming. And one thing I wanted to say, because we see him so fidgety and everything on the videos at the neighbor's house and talking to the police, he told me he never gave one thought that he would ever be caught. He thought he was so smart that he could literally pull this off and never be caught. And he could go off and have his life with his girlfriend and everything would just be wonderful. Yeah, that's a monster. That's a real monster.
When he would talk to you, Sherilyn, what was your impression of him? Because I find that really not only interesting, like I said, studying a rattlesnake, but I find it probative. In other words, it proves something to me that he was so arrogant that he believed he would never be caught, that he could manipulate everyone. The girlfriend, well, the many girlfriends he had, his wife, his children, his own family, the justice system, his coworkers. I mean, he had been hooking up with women for, one-night stands forever.
Right. I mean, Christopher is good looking, or he was at one time. He was good looking. I believe that this crime has eaten him. He's not as good looking as he used to be, but he's a good looking man, and he comes across very sweet.
How many times is she going to say the word, he's good looking? And honestly, over time, I've always kind of felt like she had some weird, like, obsession with him, like on that level, like crushed on him.
He was very gallant in the way he even treated me. He was very kind. He wanted me to just feel that he was the good boy next door. And he took on a role with me almost as that I was a mother figure to him. And he would tell me that because, I mean, I went into it at 60 years old. I had no intentions of any kind of a romance. And I made that up front in my letter. That's not what my letter was about. And I find it interesting that he has a lot of issues from growing up that he may think is okay, but I would be very concerned if my son had those kind of issues. And I think that it was
what kind of issues?
Well, he would go into the bathroom at home, and his mother told me this. He would go into the bathroom at home, and she would hear him crying and saying, "Oh God, please forgive me, please forgive me, please forgive me for what I did, please forgive me." She said that she would ask him about that, and he wouldn't answer her. And so she decided to leave him alone because she felt like he had his right to moments of privacy. Well, that is far beyond privacy. That was sick. Something had happened. Something a 12-year-old boy.
I don't know so much that something happened or that he did something. Sounds to me that he did something, that he was anxious to be forgiven.
Yes, absolutely. And so he would do things like that. And he was very much a kind of a loner.
What the heck is she even talking about?
He did have a friend that he grew up with that lived close by to them or next door or something. But I think there was a lot of dark things in his childhood that he did. And
I think she's referring to something. I don't know if it was actually confirmed that Cindy said it, but this has been repeated a few times. I think it had something to do with self-gratification. And it was something that was going around that Cindy he had done that and felt ashamed about it. But again, this was all everything that came from Cato was just like, she never can back it up. And then, like I said, she plagiarized the book. She lied about where the proceeds were going to go about this book. It's all just kind of what the heck, like you wishy-washy with what you can believe. You have heard that before. Yeah, it's been, she didn't really clear it up at all right here, but it was something along those lines. So maybe his mom did say that. But we've never really we need to revisit that subject, even though it's weird. Also, to add in, you have to add in the aspect that he grew up like Southern Baptist. And so I think that has something to do with maybe his guilt of, I don't even know. It's a weird thing. I don't even know why Sherilyn felt the need to bring it up.
I don't think it was killing the cat down the street. I think there was some things that he did. He told me once in the jail that there was some things he would take to his grave that he would never talk about. One of those things.
Oh
was
my
during...
God! Whoa! Hold on, my head just blew off. Let me attach it. He's murdered his pregnant wife, the unborn baby, his 2 daughters.
I've never said anything about Bella pulling her hair out and seeming sad and unsettled. I've never discussed the family in that manner like other channels have. And I don't believe that Chris ever essayed his daughters. There's no evidence to back that up either. So.
Bella and Celeste. Mm-hmm. But there's something so bad he won't tell you.
Yes, and that was one of those things happened during the surrounding the murders. I would question him about different things. I think the thing that he wouldn't talk about that he was going to take to his grave, I think it had to do with the fact that he gave Shanann a heavy dose of oxycodone when he had met.
Oh my gosh, what is she talking about? She said earlier in one of her books that he said that he would never say anything, like there were dark things that he was going to take to his grave, and it had to do with NK. She said that she thought it had to do with NK, the mistress. So now here's another thing that she's switched up.
Up with her at her family's house in South Carolina. He spent the first night at the house there with the family, and he so wanted to get rid of the unborn baby that he gave Shanann, he made her a shake, and he put oxycodone in that shake, thinking that it would cause her to miscarry. The poor girl drank it, unaware of what he was doing to her, and it made her very violently ill. She threw up all night. He couldn't even console her. He allowed her to literally sleep in the bathroom with her head on the toilet, vomiting and sick. Her brother had to come in and help console her. She was so sick, but she did not lose her baby. I believe that one of the things that he will take to his grave with him is who gave him that oxycodone.
Oh my gosh. Sherilyn Cato, can you come up with a theory of your own? So you've talked to Chris. You've been closer to Chris than any of us, and yet we're coming up with all the theories that you're saying to Nancy Grace. This whole theory about this crushing it up and gave it to her in a protein shake, like that's been going around since like the beginning of this case. Sherilyn's just, for some reason, mainstream media has given her the microphone on this case. And for some reason, we've gone through how many minutes? We're 35 minutes in, and not once have Nancy or Sherilyn mentioned the sketchy mistress who deleted things.
He wouldn't tell me.
Hold on just a moment. Hold on. So disagree. And I admit that you're the expert because you've had all these conversations with him, but he would sell anybody down the river. He's now blaming Shanann. She was the problem. She was a control freak. He's blaming the girlfriend. It's all her fault. She was a, quote, dark spirit like cult mom Lori Vallow.
Finally, the girlfriend gets brought up, and she's mocking her dark spirit. I definitely think there was dark energy around Nicole Kessinger.
I said he blames everybody else for everything. I think it's something much worse than who gave him the OxyContin that he slipped into her drink to kill the baby and maybe her. I don't think that's it. He would sell out anybody. And
I agree. If he did say that there was some dark things that he would take to his grave, I think it has to do with Nicole Kessinger and her friends and not this whole Oxy theory.
their mother. I think it's something worse than that. Something he did to Shanann or the girls or to their bodies. Something that's so horrible, he won't confess it. Now let's just let our minds follow that through to its logical conclusion.
Right, right. And I have wondered if the girls were alive when they hit that water. That has been because he was a time crunch getting out of there. He had to appear like everything was okay at work at 8 o'clock. And so it took time to smother those girls. It took time to walk them up those battery steps. If you've seen a picture of them, they're huge. They're huge. They're tall up in the air. So were they alive?
So he had sex with Shanann right before he killed her. I wonder if kits were done on Bella and Celeste.
And notice how Nancy doesn't even bring up, like, what was the evidence that they had sex that morning? Like, they just don't even care. You don't even care to bring up that there's actually nothing that proves that or points to that besides Chris saying that in his second confession.
I wonder if he, let me just say euphemistically, tampered with Shanann's body post-mortem. Whatever it is has got to be something that's so horrible he can't bring himself to state it. And I don't know what could be more horrible than what we are.
And if this went to trial and they tested all the swabs that they did on the bodies, like, I guess we wouldn't be sitting here wondering, because she's theorizing right now that there was something that he had done to her body after she was dead. If you guys can pick up what I'm talking about. Ed Gein stuff. Okay, well, the problem is it ended in a plea deal in 3 months. So it's just ridiculous that we're here speculating that Chris did that to Shanann. Like, we should know what DNA came back in this case, and we don't.
Already know he did what he's confessed to.
Right.
Question, how is he twisting this around and making this all Shanann's fault?
Shanann was an accomplished woman in her own right. She sold a company, Thrive, that she worked for, and she was very successful. They gave her a car allowance for a new Lexus. When she would go to the large campaigns that they have every year, she won awards. She had something like 400,000 people under her. She was a very accomplished woman, and she liked to spend money. She liked to impress. They lived in a huge home. She made him look very little in his eyes. He felt like she made him look little. He told me that she would.
Okay, wait, what? How does her working her finger to the bone and creating this beautiful home that she artfully designed? I've looked at every room that she designed, she painted, she furnished. Now, how does she makes the money? She brings home the money. She takes care of the children. She designs the home. She cleans the home. Wait, how does she make him look small? I thought you could only do that all on your own.
That's only in his eyes, not in. I don't believe Shanann felt that way about him. I know for a fact his in-laws did not feel that way about him, but he had to have some way to blame all this. See, they went on trips. It shows right here. You're looking at them at a beach. That trip was furnished by her company that she worked for. She earned those things, and he had a job.
I agree, Kristen.
He only made $60,000 a year. She made twice what he made, and he felt belittled. He said by her. She was very.
Ooh, but he didn't mind spending her money, did he?
No,
somebody
he
had
did
to
not.
pay for all those motels he shacked up in.
Yeah, that's all the dinners he took his girlfriend to, and the gifts that he bought her. That's right. Yes, and so Shanann was, like you said, working her fingers to the bone. That girl worked day and night to do what she accomplished, and yet he would say that she was just on to him all the time, and just whatever he could use.
Thank you so much, Jay.
Because she probably knew he was cheating, or at least suspected.
Thank you, and welcome to the new members.
You can't have a house that beautiful that you design and you keep neat as a pin. and not look at your husband's credit cards when he doesn't show up for supper. Right?
Right.
Isn't that why we all have Live 360?
Yes, right. Yeah, no. She was blindsided in the beginning, I believe. She trusted him because she was so busy. I don't think she had time to follow him around and see what he was doing. And so in the beginning, I think she was very trusting. And then all of a sudden, when he changed who he was to her. Yes.
I want to throw something at you. I mean, I know you're not a shrink, but I'm just thinking about her, and I admire her. Well, she's beautiful, and she always is so put together. And she's trying so hard to get that Hallmark family and home and keep it perfect and beautiful. And she has to wonder, what's wrong with me? Why is he not coming home at night? Why is he at the drop-in motel? I mean, she had to be suspicious, and that probably manifested by her being, quote, on him. Like, what do you...
Okay, Sherilyn Cato, if you knew this case, you would know the text messages were Shanann talking to her girlfriends about being suspicious and feeling insecure about, him rejecting her for sex and all that. Like, what the heck? I don't know if I can watch the rest of this, guys.
You're doing? Where have you been? And I'm sure he resented that. But this beautiful woman on the end, not her, I'm talking about Shanann. That's one of his many girlfriends. Her, Shanann. Yeah. She was always feeling like she was overweight, like she wasn't pretty enough, like she wasn't exciting and funny and witty and blah, 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 fill in the blank because of him.
Right. He didn't do anything to feed her ego, but he wanted his fed well. And he went to the gym and he lost weight and he buffed up. And she had to have known something's going on here because she was a smart girl. She was just, she wasn't stupid by any means. And so, I mean, we all have things about us that we wish we looked different or we were weighed less.
What is wrong with men? I don't get it. I do not get it. Of course, I guess you could say the same thing about some women, but they've got it all. If you can't be happy with her and the beautiful girls and the baby boy and the picture perfect home and the perfect neighborhood, what does it take? I don't know. I don't know. What does it take?
Yes,
that's
Dominic.
Everybody's dream. But listen to this. I'm quoting from Sherilyn Cato's book. Now she's got 2 of them. I know if Nikki and I were going to be together, I had to kill all of them. That's a quote from The Murders of Christopher Watts. It was all to be with another woman. Hadn't he ever heard of divorce?
Yes. Think of that. And the other woman, I don't know anything about her, but Shanann was, in my opinion, far more what he should want. I mean, he built a life with her.
Why do people always cheat down?
Yeah, exactly.
They always cheat down.
Cheat down. That's a good one. Yes, definitely. I mean, look at Shanann. She's beautiful. She's laughing. She's got a wonderful personality. She treated people so well. People loved her. She had
even down to their voices. Shanann's voice was so much nicer.
A huge group of friends. I don't understand at all. I don't understand why he would not be happy with what he had.
He tries to blame it on anger, that I was so angry I would have killed anything. Like anger is some type of a beast that did the deed. It was him that did the deed. Did he ever shed a tear?
Never did he shed a tear. And here's another thing. And I asked him about this point blank because I said, it seems like that this monster in you, that whatever it was that you were having to go to the bathroom and pray for forgiveness, and this didn't happen just once. This is something that happened on a kind of a regular basis, that his mother could hear him as a child. I said, it seems to me like there was a monster inside of you and it was boiling and it had to come out. And that's why you killed Shanann, is because that monster just had to come out. I don't know what you think of that, but it's like something in there, and it wasn't caused by Shanann, that monster inside of him.
You mentioned that when he left the disposal scene, which is a really euphemistic way to put what he did to Bella and Celeste, Shanann and Nico, that he was playing Metallica. What he was playing was a Metallica song, Battery. And some of the lyrics are, pounding out aggression turns into obsession, cannot kill the battery, cannot kill the family. That's
okay. Let's get the facts straight. He wasn't playing the Battery song that morning. NK, the mistress, texted Chris and asked him what the lyrics to that song meant.
He knew exactly what he was doing. And the motive was to be with a.
So the whole Metallica connection goes back to the mistress. And yet here they are, mainstream media, getting the whole narrative wrong.
Another woman who would probably start cheating on the moment he could.
Yes. Yeah.
What is your takeaway of Chris Watts? And the books are amazing. The Murders of Christopher Watts and The Many Faces of Christopher Watts, a 5-year update. What's your takeaway that you can give us?
All of these women that are writing to him and sending him love letters and sending him money through the mail that has overloaded his commissary.
You mean women like you?
My takeaway is that there's something in him that he thinks he can just woo any woman. And woman beware, because let me tell you, anyone that has that personality, I would definitely be very careful of. I don't think that there is a man or a woman alive that is willing to kiss your feet that much, to woo you that much, and not just be themselves. But these women, they want to marry him. They want to support him. They want to visit with him. They want to talk to him on the phone. Oh my gosh. My takeaway is just beware. Women, beware.
You know,
Oh, are you jealous of these women, Kato? Like, so weird. These women, that's what you have to say. This is what you wanted to say when she says your takeaway about Chris Watts. You wanted to go on a soapbox of talking about the dangerous or the women who write to him and fill his commissary and visit him like you did. And how many books are you writing just from your conversation with him? What, back in 2019? 2020, 24 months, Margie. Yeah, you were one of the people who sent me this segment. Numerous people were like, did you see this? Did you see this? I'm like, oh.
You mentioned that he was good looking. I've never once found him good looking. Even before I knew for sure he murdered Shanann, because he doesn't have a
Sherilyn's like, you don't think he's, well, more for me.
kind face. You know, no, why am I seeing him without a shirt on? Why are you doing that to me? I don't want to see his body. He's yuck. You know what? Control room showing me that. You might as well show me a picture of a coral snake or anaconda.
Why are they talking about anacondas and snakes? Talking about Chris. I'm concerned where this conversation just turned, but I think we're done with it. I can't take it anymore. I'm going to link in Alex Erickson's link. Please jump on that link I just put in the stream and meet me over there. She's covering the I'm sorry. She's covering Rebecca Parker, the pregnant woman who was found without the baby. So she was found dead, but the baby, we don't know where it is. So I'm linking her link. Let's do it at ATS News Raid over in her chat. So meet me over there. I'll see you guys next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for our weekend live streams. And it was nice talking to you guys. Thank you, everyone who donated. Jay, 24 months being a member. I really appreciate those who have stuck around so many years with me. I can't thank you enough. And everyone else who just hit the like button and all that. Let's go over there and get caught up on Rebecca's case, because that one's super important to kind of keep out there. Like, where is the baby? So let's go, guys. Click the link. I'll meet you over there. Say ATS News Raid. Let's go.